This is Focus on Africa from BBC World News. I'm Sophie Ikenye. Our top stories: promoting health and education. The U.S. First Lady is in Ghana at the start of her first solo tour of Africa, but not everyone has welcomed her arrival.
Anytime we're having such personalities coming to Africa, we believe we are going to gain anything. What of thinking the other way, the counterfactual, probably it is for the benefit of America anyway.
Emotions run high as a man accused of raping a child appears in court in South Africa. Marking 60 years after independence from France, but have the dreams of Guinea's founding leaders been achieved? Also in the program, celebrating in style. Nigerian stars in the diaspora gathered together in London to recognize and celebrate their achievements.
It's about really just focusing more on the positive aspect of Nigeria than the negative that we get day in, day out in the media.
And in sports, the Champions League makes a return today with the first legs of both semi-finals. Thanks for joining us on Focus on Africa from BBC World News. The U.S. First Lady Melania Trump has arrived in Ghana. It's day one of a 5-day trip to Africa, which will also take her to Malawi, Kenya and Egypt. Even though her husband, Donald Trump, dominates most global politics at the moment, she's hoping to escape from under his shadow. So she's focusing on promoting healthcare and education programs run by USAID and her own Be Best initiative. Well, despite big improvements in healthcare over the last decade, children from Ghana's poorest families are still nearly 40% more likely to die before the age of 5 compared to children from Ghana's richest families. Now, according to the latest UNICEF statistics, just under 59 out of every 1,000 children born will never reach the age of 5. And for every 100,000 children born, 380 mothers won't live to see their children grow up. What's not helping? Well, a cut in US aid for starters. It's fallen from $172 million last year to just $77 million in 2018. Well, the BBC's Thomas Nadi is in Accra and he's been following the First Lady for us.
Touching down for the first time in Africa with an agenda, the First Lady of United States, Melania Trump, began her 4-nation tour in Ghana's capital, Accra, receiving a warm welcome from Ghana's First Lady, Rebecca Akufo-Addo, accompanied by other government officials. It's Mrs. Trump's first major solo outing abroad as First Lady, and it drew mixed reaction.
One of the most fashionable First Ladies in the history of the United States of America.
I think that she's someone that has been able to create for herself a beautiful life.
She doesn't inspire me compared to Michelle Obama.
Today, Mrs. Trump toured the Greater Accra Regional Hospital in the capital, where she presented some baby products to some of the mothers. She is also expected to visit the Cape Coast Castle, which was actively used during the slave trade era. On a diplomatic level, her visit is seen as quite significant.
The visit is significant because it helps us to deepen ties between Ghana and the United States of America. It also affords the two First Ladies an opportunity to engage and possibly collaborate on their agenda, both of which are focused on child and maternal development and healthcare.
The U.S. First Lady is visiting Africa at a time the U.S. government is pushing for a reduction of U.S. aid around the world. The United States is one of Ghana's main trading partners, with trade volume exceeding $1.2 billion. The U.S. Agency for International Development, which Mrs. Trump will be working closely with during her visit, is also engaged in a number of projects in Ghana. But will her visit benefit Africa at all?
It looks as though anytime we're having such personalities coming to Africa, we believe we are going to gain anything. What of thinking the other way, the counterfactual, probably it is for the benefit of America anyway.
President Trump has rarely mentioned Africa in office, but did cause controversy when he referred to African countries in a disparaging way. Thomas Nadi, BBC News, Accra.
Well, let's bring in Shamina Muslim. She's a broadcaster and founder of Alliance for Women in Media Africa. She joins us from Accra. Thanks for taking time to talk to us. There's been mixed reaction to Mrs. Trump's visit all across Africa, really. What is your take on her visit to Ghana first?
Well, thank you so much for having me as well. You're right about the fact that there's been very mixed reactions to Mrs. Trump's visit to Ghana and some other African countries. And rightly so, because, you know, her husband hasn't made very complimentary remarks about the continent in his comments. So it was quite surprising to many that on her first solo visit, she decided to visit the continent that her husband had made, you know, disparaging comments about. So really, also because people don't really know her and we don't quite relate to her at the personal level. If you compare her to the personality of Michelle Obama as well as President Barack Obama when they came during their time in the presidential visit, there was really euphoria and we were all preening to see and catch a glimpse of them.
Right.
I'm not so sure that Mrs. Trump will receive the same kind of euphoric welcome, but she definitely will receive the typical African reception. We will receive her very warmly. And I'm sure we did today when she arrived. There were school children at the airport. Our First Lady, Rebecca Akufo-Addo, was there. There was cultural display alongside. And so she will feel welcome, though.
All right, Shamina, let me come in here and just ask, because her agenda really is healthcare, education, and, you know, the well-being of children. Does that not make a difference, even given the fact that Ghana really isn't doing well in terms of healthcare?
Well, yes, it's a conversation point to have, because we also do know that as an individual, she may not be able to make any commitments to us, but we can have conversations to see what the reality is for both our countries, because we're also dealing with health issues, nutrition issues, and I particularly will want for her to turn her attention and hear the stories about the plight of rural children who are really the poorest of the poor, the most vulnerable of them. We know that she may not be able to make any tangible commitments, but we can share lessons. And she has also conceded that this trip is actually an educational tour for her, rather than a trip that should seek as expecting any freebies from her or her office. She is willing, and I'm sure she's going to learn as much as we are also willing to share and also hear from her experiences with her Be Best campaign.
All right, all right, Shamina Muslim, we have to leave it there, but of course we'll be watching Mrs. Trump in the next few days as she travels to the rest of the countries across Africa. Now, hundreds of people gathered today for a protest against child rape outside a court in Pretoria, South Africa. A 20-year-old man was arrested after allegedly raping a little girl in a public bathroom of a restaurant last month. It was Nicholas Ninau's second appearance in court, and he faced abuse from the public gallery. Nomsa Maseko reports.
Widely circulated on social media, this video was taken moments after Nicholas Ninau was caught naked in the restroom of a famous restaurant chain in South Africa. Bystanders say the accused followed a 7-year-old girl from the restaurant play area to the toilets where he allegedly raped her. He'd apparently been watching her for a while.
Not in my name. Number one, you are South African first.
The case elicited widespread condemnation. And today, political parties and civil society united in protest outside the court.
The fact that this rapist has raped a child in a public space where there was adults, there was supervision, but he actually took it upon himself to actually follow this child and rape the child at the bathroom. And our question is, how many times has he done it before?
Shortly after entering the courtroom, the accused sat with his face covered, while the public gallery hurled insults at him. His legal team decided not to apply for bail today, opting rather to outline injuries the accused sustained During an altercation with other patrons in the bathroom, broken bottles were allegedly used to beat him over his head several times. This case has sparked anger and outrage. Recent police statistics show that just over 40% of all rapes in South Africa are committed against children. They also say 46 children are raped in the country every single day, and yet the conviction rate remains very low. In this case, the prosecuting authorities say they'll be asking for a maximum sentence.
So we are saying the stance of our courts should be more stringent and deny these people bail. And since it is a rape of a minor, the likelihood of the accused person, if found guilty, is that he will face a life imprisonment term.
Protests are expected to continue for much of the day here outside the Pretoria Magistrates Court. The suspect has been remanded in custody for further investigation. He's also expected to apply for bail at his next court appearance next month. Nomsama Sego, BBC News, Pretoria.
Let's now take a quick look at other stories making headlines across Africa and the rest of the world. 4 days on since a tsunami and earthquake hit the Indonesian island of Sulawesi, the number of people killed has risen to 1,300, and that's expected to increase. At least 60,000 people have been left homeless. Rescue workers continue to search the rubble for survivors. Police in Kenya have discovered almost $10 million, but it was all fake. The dollars and euro notes were found in a raid on a house in Westlands neighborhood of Nairobi. One Kenyan and two Chadians have been arrested. Detectives say they made the raid after a tip-off by members of the public. A suicide attacker has killed 13 people and injured more than 30 at an election rally in Nangarhar province in Afghanistan. Supporters of parliamentary candidate Abdel Nasser Momand had gathered together when the blast happened. It's the first major attack on campaigning since it began last Friday. This is Focus on Africa from BBC World News with me, Sophie Ikenye. Still to come, Nigeria captain John Mikel Obi has been omitted from the country's latest squad. Peter will be here to tell us why. I'm Sophie Ikenye and you're watching Focus on Africa from BBC World News. The top stories on this program. US First Lady Melania Trump has visited a hospital in Ghana's capital, Accra, at the start of her first international trip without her husband, Donald. She'll visit 4 African countries over the next 5 days. And hundreds of people protested outside a court in Pretoria today in response to a child rape case. Nicholas Ninau is accused of raping a young girl in the public bathroom of a restaurant last month. Now, we would rather have poverty in freedom than riches in slavery. Those were the words of Guinea's first president, Sékou Touré, at independence in 1958. It was the first country in Francophone Africa to go it alone. Well, 60 years later, the country is celebrating that independence. But how far has Guinea come? Let's hear what people are saying on the streets of Conakry.
We are still wondering when Guinea will develop. When will Guinea be able to get out of this poverty? In any case, I hope that after this current regime, there will certainly be another regime coming so that Guinea can really return to a normal life, like the other countries.
We noticed that this independence, these 60 years, a youth that has become aware and which really intends to make a difference.
After the era of the first regime, I see that today the position of young Guineans or Guineans in general, we do not have an objective because now we are going in circles.
Guinea is gradually developing. Now we have Guinean executives studying here and elsewhere. I think if Guineans are brave and if there is justice, I think Guinea will move forward in history.
Well, Hussein Fadiga is a correspondent for Guinea News and joins us now in studio. Thanks for taking time to talk to us. Mixed reaction there by Guineans, and some of them say there's hope for the future. Others say nothing is really working. But there were very strong words from your first president. We would rather have poverty in freedom than riches in slavery. What do you think the country is like now?
Well, as you just said, well, that quote was seen for French or from Charles de Gaulle as an affront. But it didn't really mean to break up with France. It means to establish a new cooperation, a new relationship. But we wanted to decide by ourselves. But de Gaulle he saw that as an affront, so he broke up completely with Guinea, and then he ripped off everything that was established as a basis for a country to get up and start moving towards prosperity. So Guinea, at that time, the first 2 years were very, very difficult because France didn't leave anything behind. Mm-hmm. So we had to start over. Today we are on 60 years of independence. It seems very long for a country not to be developed at this stage. But as you know, for a new baby country, you know, that had to start all over again. Now we're on 60 years, and 60 years is a mature age. And it's really a long time, I should say, really. What is it that you're not doing right? The countries or the governments are not doing right, really, because you have minerals, you have a huge youth base in the country. Yeah, there's a huge base of mineral, agricultural production and stuff, but there is kind of, I don't know, we have the leadership. We need a stronger leadership. But I'm not saying that Alpha Condé is no strong leadership, but I think he's hesitating a bit on some decision making. Mm-hmm. And we need him to establish his authority, even though it's 2 years remaining for his mandate. But 2 years is a long time as well to put something in place, which is starting now, for the future generation to come. But he's also facing some sort of resistance when it comes to the constitution, because there have been some protests, I think, among the opposition and civil activists over the constitutional changes that are supposed to be happening. Yeah, there's always been a protest from the opposition. It's not only about the constitution; it's about mostly everything. You know, because there's always a setback. And I don't know, as you might know, we had the local election last February, the 4th of February, and then those elections we were waiting for them for more than 10 years. But up to now, the city councils still haven't got their mayor. So, you know, there's always this kind of miscommunication. There's always accord signing, but to implement the accord, that's where the problem is. And then, implementation. And then only when you are inside the circle that you know really what's happening. As the people, you know, we're just asking questions. What's going on? All right. We'll be, of course, watching. Al-Hussein Fadiga, we have to leave it there, but thanks for taking time to talk to us. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Thank you. You're watching BBC Focus on Africa. Time now for some sport. Peter.
Many thanks, Sophie. And the Champions League makes a return today with the first legs of both semi-finals being played. The match between Primeiro Agosto of Angola and Esperance of Tunisia is almost over, actually in extra time right now. The latest score there is 1-0 to Primeiro. They scored in the 81st minute, so about 10 minutes ago. The Angolans are trying to reach their first ever final. Tonight's other game is a North African derby between 8-time winners Al Ahly of Egypt and Algeria's side Etienne Setif. That game kicks off in just over an hour's time. Ahly first won the competition in 1982 and most recently in 2013 when they beat Orlando Pirates of South Africa. They are hoping to go through to the decisive game once more this year, and their manager Patrice Cateron says his side is ready.
The players are ready. They're motivated. It's the first leg of the Champions League semi-final. And obviously, we want a positive result, and my players want to continue their beautiful series.
The president of the Confederation of African Football, Ahmad, has been in Cameroon today, ostensibly to find out if the country will be ready to host next year's Africa Cup of Nations. It seems to have been an unscheduled visit because the first I heard of it was via this picture posted on social media by ex-Cameroon international Samuel Eto'o, of both of them on a plane heading to Yaoundé. There are still doubts about whether Cameroon can hold on to the right to host the Africa Cup of Nations next year because of concerns over both security and preparations. It's the presidential election at the weekend as well. CAF are going to send a couple of more inspection teams to Cameroon before confirming their hosting or taking it away. Nigeria captain John Mikel Obi has been omitted from the country's latest squad for back-to-back Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers with Libya this month. The Nigeria Football Federation says it is to allow him recover from injury. Mikel was also missing when the Super Eagles took on Seychelles last month. The 31-year-old has not played for his country since the Summer's World Cup, leading to speculation about his international future. Coach Gernot Rohr has made 3 changes from the Super Eagles squad that took on Seychelles. Watford's Isaac Success has been rewarded for his impressive form, and fit again Levante forward Moses Simon as well as Bursaspor of Turkey defender Shehu Abdullahi also earn recalls. Now, over the weekend, hundreds of swimmers took part in the Dakar to Gorée Island race in Senegal. This is a 5-kilometer swim from the capital to a former slave port where Africans were once sold and shipped off to slavery in the Americas. The race is a tribute to slavery's victims who remained defiant and tried to swim, often in chains, to freedom. Adama Tio, a soldier, may have won the race for the 3rd time, but it was another competitor who caught the eye.
Today is the 2nd time that I'll be taking part in the race. The swimming pool is easier because here there is Karen.
Fantastic. She's 10 years old, swam 5 kilometers.
It's amazing, isn't it? Thanks for the sport, Peter. Thank you. Now, a celebration of Nigerians in the diaspora took place on Monday night in London to honor those who are making a positive impact on society. Now, the day also marked 58 years since Nigeria gained independence from Britain. Stars from the world of sport, film, TV, and even royalty gathered together. Lisa Marie Mishtak was also there.
Some of the best-known Nigerians in the diaspora gathered in London's West End to celebrate its highest achievers. Dressed in black tie and traditional wear, TV, film and sports stars came together to share how important their heritage is to them.
We have the power within ourselves as Nigerians, in Nigeria and throughout the diaspora, to take charge of our future and actually turn it into something great.
I wouldn't have achieved what I've achieved up to date if I hadn't been Nigerian. It's something that I embrace. It's the kind of values that I've been installing in my family.
When I talk about love and happiness, it has to be the colours of Nigeria.
It's just nice to know that we have somewhere else we can call home, and we have another set of cultures and traditions that we can take on and pass on to our kids.
The annual event and awards dinner is the brainchild of Alexander Amosu, who wants to promote a positive image of Nigerians.
It's about really just focusing more on the positive aspect of Nigeria than the negative that we get day in, day out in the media. And that's the reason why, for me, it's great to be Nigerian right now.
The night is also a celebration to mark 58 years since Nigeria gained independence from British colonial rule, whilst honouring those Nigerians who have excelled in their chosen fields. There was also an auction to raise funds for the Nelson Mandela Foundation.
At 650 here.
Thousands of pounds was raised, with all the proceeds going directly to support the foundation. Royalty was also in attendance. The Oba of Lagos reminisced on how much Nigeria has changed over the years.
Since 1960, most of the years were under military, which is a dictatorial something. But now that we have a very serious and anti-corruption leader, all will be well with Nigeria by the grace of God very soon.
With an estimated 15 million Nigerians living in the diaspora, events such as this create an atmosphere for professionals to connect and embrace their roots and celebrate the impact they have globally. Lisa Marie Mishtak, BBC News, London.
Of course, don't forget you can get in touch with me. I am @CKenye on Twitter. But just a quick reminder of our top story today on Focus on Africa. US First Lady Melania Trump has visited a hospital in Ghana's capital. She'll be visiting 3 other countries in the next coming days. That's it from the program. From me and the rest of the team, thank you for your company.